Cardinal Ribat calls for government to help Manus Islanders. Treasurer says economy is in poor state. And dual citizenship officially launched.
This is National EMTV News with Ribat.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for Friday's news. Cardinal Sir John Ribat is urging the government to help communities on Hahus and Andra Islands in Manus. Cardinal Ribat said the two islands are in danger following the dramatic rise in sea levels. He made this statement today following his visit to the two islands.
In a news conference this morning, Cardinal Ribat spoke strongly of the seriousness of the impacts climate change would have on small islands in the country. Following their visit to Andra and Hahus on Manus Island, it is clear that there is a danger of the islands being forced underwater.
And it's like everywhere else they were saying, this is where we grew up, this is our island, but it's getting smaller. But to be able to move to another place, that's where the challenge is. Where else? Where could they go?
According to the visit, less than 150 families live on these two islands. Cardinal Ribat says roads and other basic services have been affected as the islanders face uncertainty of the land.
Where their houses were, where the homes were, that is gone. Even the road has to be rerouted, redesigned so that there's ring road around the island.
With more calls to the government to address climate change issues in the country, the agenda of the Paris Agreement is now in doubt following US President Donald Trump's remarks to derail the plan which nearly 200 countries, including PNG, agreed to in 2015. Apparently, this would affect funding proceeds to help nations combat the effects of climate change.
For more people, more islands and more people will be going like this, I'd like to call on our leaders, the government, to really think seriously and try to put money aside to cater for our people like this. It will not be the end.
While funding remains a struggle for the government, islanders on Hahus and Andra see their land being eaten away by the sea every day. Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
Treasurer Patrick Pruwich has spilled the beans on the true state of the country's economy. Minister Pruwich said Papua New Guinea's economy has fallen off a cliff under the present government. He said while the government's total debt sits at 21.6 billion kina, it is continuing its spending spree while jobs in the formal sector have been falling since 2014. He said PNG will have budget deficits for the next 5 years because of the current government's economic strategy.
Minister Pruwich made the revelations today at the National Alliance Party induction. As most of his audience were intending candidates, the NA parliamentary leader shared his experiences as the country's longest-serving treasurer, saying it was an important tool to be equipped with the economic story of the country. He said managing the economy of the country is the most important role for any government.
Our current government has been proudly boasting in its speeches that Papua New Guinea was going to have the highest growth rate in the world. It failed to correct itself when this did not eventuate. All Papua New Guineans will be better off today if our government had given more consideration to the quality of its spending than in promoting extravagant projects built at highly inflated costs.
He said despite the government's claims about the high rates of gross domestic product or GDP, the real story behind the numbers is that the management of the economy has faced serious shortcomings. He said GDP growth has eroded in recent years.
It is expected to fall again this year and to keep falling. I repeat, keep falling, at least for the next 4 years. It seems like the economy has virtually fallen off a cliff under the present government.
He said even though the Prime Minister told Parliament this week there would be no more borrowing, the Treasurer doubts the Prime Minister will keep to his words.
That is because he can only say something today and tomorrow he does exactly the opposite. Because of his economic strategy, Papua New Guinea will have budget deficits for another 5 years. The money needed won't fall from the sky, my friends. We will have to borrow.
Minister Pruach told the intending candidates that if NA is given the mandate in this election, the party will be guided by one overriding principle. As a government, they will adopt a people-first policy. Deli Waigeno, National, EMTV News.
A senior program officer with the National Planning and Monitoring Department was arrested by police in Port Moresby this afternoon. Molas Nola Namu Winzo, 47, from Oradatu village in Okapa district of Eastern Highlands, was charged with 3 counts of money laundering, conspiracy and misappropriation. These charges relate to a 10 million kina payment intended for Telecom PNG Limited, which was fraudulently diverted to a company called WIA Rural Communication Limited instead. Police alleged that the accused and others diverted the funds to the named company, and the decision was not approved by Telecom PNG and IPBC. The Immigration and Citizenship Service officially launched the dual citizenship between selected countries yesterday. Solomon Kantha, Acting Chief Immigration Officer, said the dual citizenship aims to promote investment. But to receive any type of citizenship, whether it is dual or by marriage, it will come at a cost.
Yesterday, Foreign Affairs Minister Rimbing Pato launched the dual citizenship after 3 years of work by the department. This is the first for the country to allow a foreigner to possess a PNG citizenship with their home country.
The intent of this is to promote investment, development in sports, people-to-people contact, and of course, more importantly, the promotion of prosperity of our country.
While you may be able to hold 2 citizenships, it will come at a cost, with some rights restricted under the Citizenship Act if you are a current PNG citizen. You will not be able to vote, hold public office, or acquire freehold land.
It is a constitutional process that is defined within the Constitution. There is also a committee that is responsible for making a decision on citizenship matters, which is the Citizenship Advisory Committee.
According to the department, applications are online on the PNG immigration website.
The globalizing nature and the connectivity that it brings be available to you online. So I will issue a statement on this, and the website is there, www.pngimmigration.gov.png. So
the dual citizenship application fee is 5,000 kina. Other citizenship like naturalization, by marriage, investors, sports person, the application fees are 10,000 kina to 15,000 kina. We asked the Acting Chief Immigration Officer why the fees were so high.
Naturalization is a foreigner who wants to acquire PNG citizenship. The current fee for that is 10,000 kina. So citizenship by marriage is in fact the same process. It's the naturalization process where the foreigner applies for a PNG citizenship, and that's why the fees are the same.
A citizenship committee is in place and is chaired by member for Telefomin, Solan Marasim. The committee is set in place to screen citizenship applicants before they are sent to the National Executive Council for the final approval. Adelaide Xerox Curry, National, EMTV News.
Sir Moi Ave has been appointed as Chair and Director of Kumul Petroleum Holdings. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill announced yesterday that the National Executive Council decided to remove Frank Kramer, thanking him for his leadership in the early stages of development. Under Kumul legislation, the Prime Minister of the day is a shareholder in KPH and has input to adjust the board and facilitate the new appointment. Mr. O'Neill said under Sir Moi's leadership, KPH will be able to advance to the next stage of development and deliver even greater outcomes for the nation. Sir Moi is a senior statesman with a distinguished public service and political career. He has extensive knowledge of the industry, having served 2 terms in cabinet as Minister for Petroleum. A Papua New Guinean woman has been honored as the East Asia and Pacific awardee for the 2017 U.S. Secretary of State's International Women of Courage Award. She is the very first Papua New Guinean woman to receive this award, and in recognition of her work as an advocate for women and children who have been victims of violence.
She goes by the name Veronica Simgun, founder of the Family for Change Association in Wewak.
Our next honoree is Veronica Simoigan from Papua New Guinea. Founder of the Family for Change Association and advocate for women and girls in Papua New Guinea, Veronica lives and works in a country where 2/3 of women and girls have been physically and sexually abused due to their gender. Despite facing death threats for her work with survivors, Veronica has devoted herself to helping others and to building relationships with local law enforcement and men and boys to overturn the cultural norms that deprive women and girls of their status and basic rights. Veronica is being honored for her relentless dedication to protecting victims of violence and vulnerable women and children, and for the pursuit of supportive partners in men and boys to make her country a violence-free society. Veronica.
Veronica was nominated by the U.S. Embassy in Port Moresby for her consistent courage in the face of threats to her life to rescue, defend, and care for women and children who had fallen victim to violence. Because of her advocacy, she has become a hero to over 6,000 people in her community and repatriated more than 60 survivors of domestic violence. She is among 12 other women who were chosen for their courage and leadership in advocating for human rights, women's equality, and social progress, often at great personal risk.
Each one of these heroic women has an extraordinary story of courage, which must inspire each of us to also achieve more than we had ever imagined possible. Their lives remind us of the boundless capacity of the human spirit when guided by moral clarity and desire to do good.
When asked to describe what keeps her going, Ms. Simogun said the harassment and threats she receives did not bother her. She believes in protecting victims of violence in East Sepik province and hopes to influence young men and boys to become supportive partners in violence-free homes. Melissa Gaviro, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. The Eastern Highlands Health Authority is looking at approaching cancer by way of prevention when it is still at a curable stage. The Provincial Health Authority has revealed that cervical cancer is the main problem among women in the Eastern Highlands. Director of Curative Health Services, Tony Basse, says in Eastern Highlands, the treatment facility and the cost involved is still a long way away.
Curative Health Services Director Tony Basse says cancer treatment in Eastern Highlands is still a long way off. They will need trained personnel and equipment to help fight cancer, but they are taking the steps to address cancer in the province. The Provincial Health Authority is now looking at prevention.
We have realized that we should go more into cervical cancer screening and prevention.
They are also looking at doing more cervical cancer screening and prevention. They are now using VIA or visual inspection with acetic acid to screen women.
Currently, we are using a VIA here in Goroka. That's a visual inspection with acetic acid. Just try to paint the cervix and to see if there's any morphological changes, if there's any discoloration of the cervix. Then it will be an indication that the patient may develop cancer later in life because of the presence of a particular strain of virus, which is HPV.
The provincial government has given 600,000 kina towards cancer treatment in the province, which was used to purchase 10 cryotherapy machines from Thailand. The 10 machines will be used in the 8 districts of Eastern Islands at the end of April. Patients will be screened in their district health clinic.
And then will be identified for high risk. So if they're high risk, they will be, what the cryotherapy machine does, it just ice the cervix. So it prevents the actual changes from developing any further.
Martha Louise, National EMTV News, Ley.
The PNG Defence Force Engineering Battalion at Igam Barracks are preparing for the national election as well as APEC in 2018. The training will enhance their weapons skills and also safety purposes. This is part of their stability operation when dealing with situations in urban areas.
This group of men started at 5 a.m. to finish their last training skills today. The training was hard and exhausting. The physical activities were daunting. Yesterday they started off with the weapons. A commander gives instructions and the officers follow inside the barracks. Today was different. It started outside. The training skills upgraded by these soldiers are part of their stability operations. The training is a simulation of routine checks in urban buildings and vehicles. The soldiers have successfully ended 3 weeks of hard training. They are now waiting for postings for elections and next year's APEC summit in Port Moresby. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Ley.
The PNG Defence Force has been undergoing structural changes since its white paper was introduced in 2013. The major changes include pay adjustments, housing and retrenchment.
These changes were highlighted during the 2017 PNGDF Commanders Conference, which concluded today. The conference began on Wednesday this week and stressed the importance of all unit commanders to work in union to achieve goals set out in the Defence White Paper policy.
Every conferences over the last 3 years we've always been trying to shape everyone's mindset, shape everyone's focus so that we are all in tune, understanding the intentions, understanding the priorities so that the PNG Defence Organization is focusing and moving in the same directions.
The conference brought together all unit commanders in the military, including those from the Air Transport Wing and the Navy. Since the launch of the White Paper, the force has made pay adjustments and signed bilateral relationships with other countries.
Eventually, at the end of the day, culminations of all the conferences we have, if we do not have the leadership to drive our priorities and intentions, we will never get to the intended outcomes that we would like to see every year.
Since 2013, a number of conferences were held to identify areas that the military can improve in protecting our national sovereignty and the welfare of PNGDF members and their families. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
The Road Traffic Authority launched its Corporate Plan 2017 to 2019 yesterday in Port Moresby. Speaking at the launch, Transport Minister Malakai Tabar says the plan is a guide for RTA to effectively manage and regulate the public transport system.
It has been a long journey for the Road Traffic Authority, but it now has a corporate plan to guide its responsibilities. Transport Minister Malakai Tabar, who initially drafted the plan in 2014, says the plan aims to provide a regulated transport system in the country.
The changes in land transport have been overdue for some time. And this organization, RTA, effectively comes up at a time where there is strong need for coordinated planning and strategic management to always improving our road and transport usage.
RTA was recently established and the corporate plan is the first step forward. Chief Executive Nelson Terama says the plan will rely heavily on a centralized system to coordinate its main objectives.
In order to achieve of these activities, we need to have a clear directive platform and guidance to lead us forward. And our corporate plan 2017 to 2019 provides that guidance.
The new system will crack down on counterfeit licensing, vehicle registration and goods transporting licensing while enforcing tougher penalties on fees and fines. According to RTA Chairman Melvin Yalapan, the new traffic management system will change the entire operation of RTA.
All information must be stored and must be integrated, and such information must be authentic, free from duplication, abuse and fraud.
Chairman Yalapan launched the 3-year plan witnessed by other stakeholders, RTA staff and the public. Jacob Harvey Jr., National EMTV News.
Her Royal Highness Princess Angelica Latufui-Peka visited a number of significant sites in Port Moresby during her visit. The Princess came in her capacity as Tonga's High Commissioner to Papua New Guinea and Australia to present her credentials to the Governor-General.
Princess Latufui-Peka is the only and the eldest daughter of the Tongan King, Tupoi VI. She has a bachelor's degree in business administration and was appointed High Commissioner to PNG and Australia in 2012. The princess was given a traditional Tongan welcome in Port Moresby when she met with descendants of early Tongan missionaries to PNG and the Tongan community. She also took time to lay a wreath at the gravesite of the well-known Tongan missionary to Papua New Guinea, the late Reverend Sioni Kami. Princess Latufui-Peka becomes the first member of the Tongan royal family to visit Papua New Guinea. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3145 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3070 $0.3992 Australian dollars, $0.2852 euro and 34.07 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, cocoa and copra closed higher, gold closed lower, while coffee closed the day unchanged. Palm oil and copper closed higher, while crude oil closed the day lower. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 69 points higher, the ASX closed 31 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed 28 points lower. Among stories after the break, Australian Federal Police displayed drugs with millions of dollars concealed in metal gates. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. A private institute will continue to provide internationally recognized qualifications for Papua New Guineans. The PNG government has accredited the Institute of Banking and Business Management. Today, 49 nationals graduated from IBBM with Australian diplomas and MBAs from Torrens University. Bethany Harriman with this report.
Papua New Guinea genuinely needs quality higher education. The Institute now offers Australian courses from diplomas to an MBA program. IBBM Executive Director Johnson Pundari says it's cheaper to do it onshore than in Australia.
For Papua New Guineans to go and get the same qualification down in Australia, they can get that same qualification here while still working and still staying with their family here. So it's more affordable, more convenient. So we are looking at introducing a lot of other more new programs as we move forward. But
today marked another significant milestone for the former banking college. 5 Australian accredited MBAs were awarded to graduates. Another 44 graduated with Australian diplomas and microfinance certificates, respectively.
Everyone for joining us on this special occasion.
Academic Director Sweta Sood highlighted IBBM's achievements.
As one of the accredited higher education institutes, we were invited at the national selections for school leavers. It was a very wonderful experience. And it turned out to be fantastic for not just IBBM, but the young school leavers. And we are happy to share with you that we have a batch of over 30 students enrolled in the Australian Bachelor's program.
The PNG government has recognized the institute.
IBBM was granted institutional accreditation on the 31st
of October 2004 for a period of 2 years.
A representative of the Higher Education Ministry spoke on behalf of the minister. The institute has government and private sector confidence. ExxonMobil signed an agreement to continue its partnership with IBBM.
Share with you that ExxonMobil PNG has shown its commitment to IBBM and Papua New Guinea by signing a further 3-year contract.
With new demands for higher standards of education caused by globalization, Papua New Guinea's demand far exceeds what the government can provide. The government has allocated 1.2 billion kina in its budget this year, but more work needs to be done for its higher institutions. The 49 graduates today will leave with Australian qualifications. They are now ready to take on responsibilities. They have the skills and knowledge to be leaders in their corporate setting, either in the private and public sectors. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News.
Education Secretary Dr. Uke Kombra says a report for outstanding payments for education contractors is before the National Executive Council. Contractors told MTV News this is a relief for many who have fought for outstanding payments for the last 10 years. Erika Rupma reports.
It's been frustrating for contractors who are seen nearly every day at the Education Department inquiring for the outstanding payments. NCD Education Contractor Chairman Joe Kelter told MTV News the outstanding payments date back a decade.
Tripla Group, Archives, Library, na Racy, the old Racy, which was only starting law 2008. 780 kamanda bolsem and the new Racy only Michael Passaw and the line belong in introducing law 2013. Mipla wait some 10 donkey years now. Mipla wait NCD Education only pay Mipla some 3 payments already. All working triple payment finish. And this is the 4th payment our balance Mipla cry longan.
Under the Racy program by the then Somare government, about 270 million kina was involved in the program for schools rehabilitation throughout Papua New Guinea. Because of inflated claims, an audit was carried out to identify genuine contractors. Following that, the matter was pursued to the attention of the Department Secretary Dr. Uke Kombra and Minister Ni Kuman. Today, Secretary Kombra responded positively to contractors, stating a report of the payment is now before NEC for deliberation.
These are questions that be beyond the control of the Secretary. So what he said is, submission is already there. Submission is already there, and the member of NEC is in control, so we'll see. But don't go and tell the contractors that there's going to be a payment. Secretary is honest with himself. Because this is no NEC. But let's hope for the best. Because the assurance on 2 occasions, Minister implement, he will deliver it before him.
For many contractors, the announcement by Secretary Kombra was a relief after years of waiting. Eric Orupma, National EMTV News.
Families of the victims killed in Kunwa district during the civil war on Bougainville have thanked the veterans of North Bougainville for taking the lead in the reconciliation process. Women leader Pauline Vinesi told MTV News in Kunwa that they must move with their lives and look forward to the future of Bougainville. Many people lost their lives and their properties destroyed during the civil war. Fabian Hakalets witnessed the reconciliation ceremony.
Yes, thank you, Mariba. The heavy downpour was described by locals as a blessing for almost after 21 years. There was no reconciliation taking place between the veterans of North Bougainville with the families of the victims who died during the civil war here on Bougainville. This is Roaso village in the Mahari constituency, West Coast, Bougainville, where the reconciliation had took place. The reconciliation begins a new chapter in life and something families of the victims have been working closely with the North Bougainville veterans to resolve issues that occurred at the height of the Bougainville Civil War.
Mi pinvokat ro support mo biare na lo yana time reconciliation and finish mi hamamas.
The autonomous Bougainville government's member for Mahari constituency, John Tabinaman, thanked the members of the North Bougainville veterans for taking the lead and uniting families through reconciliation.
So that time, if we go inside the referendum, if we got one activity, one belief, now we can expect one outcome that's all. Today, people don't make me like talk out, if we got big work to make him before we go inside the referendum.
The customary rituals performed yesterday, the exchange and chewing of bitter nut, signifies peace. It's an act of acceptance and forgiveness.
And asking forgiveness. So this plan, no land will mean that also. You can forgive him when something will come up, the time long.
Yes, the war on Bougainville is over. No more fighting and killing, as summed up well by song composed and sung by former Bougainville Revolutionary Army Commander Ismail Torama. The reconciliation seals off the divisions and conflict, opening the pathway for peace. In Konwa, Fabian Hakalitz, National EMTV News.
Tulay, Main Market Council workers breathed a sigh of relief yesterday when staff members of the Seventh-day Adventist PNG Union Mission Office cleaned up at the main market. More than 30 staff participated in the event under the church's community service initiative, Total Membership Involvement. This was after close to 20,000 members of the church cleaned up Hagen town in one day. A staff member, Pastor Robert Jonathan, said by cleaning up, they have set an example for the masses. The cleanup comes at a time when Lay City is facing financial constraints towards keeping the market and other parts of Lay City clean. Turning overseas now, a haul of ice bound for Melbourne's west has been seized in raids by police and border protection officers in Australia. $300 million of the drug was concealed inside metal gates.
On display at police headquarters instead of on the streets. This is a huge catch for Border Force and Federal Police. 300 1-kilogram bags of crystal meth or ice.
With an estimated street value of $300 million.
And this is where agents found it. Inside metal fences shipped here from China. Pieces of suburban life that held a dirty and illegal secret. The fences and gates loaded with drugs left China and arrived in Melbourne last week. X-rays picked up abnormalities in the large metal gates. Agents uncovered hundreds of packages of the drug, then followed a controlled delivery to Derrimut. 4 search warrants were carried out and 3 Vietnamese nationals were arrested and charged.
Our upgraded container X-ray facility here in Melbourne has been able to penetrate through the metal gates and to identify these highly sophisticated concealment.
This is a significant bust for Border Force and the Federal Police, and it took more than 100 agents working together to pull it off.
Our relationship with Chinese authorities through Operation Blaze has led to more than 7 tonnes of drugs and precursors being stopped from hitting our streets since November of 2015.
Trukai Sports is next. We'll have the details after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The PNG couples arrived in Port Moresby today after completing a successful return match against Tahiti, in which the couples won 2-1. Head coach Fleming Seritslev expressed satisfaction at the team's performance.
The senior men's national team made the quiet entry into the country today from Brisbane. The couples were impressive in their return leg in Tahiti, despite facing hiccups in their first outing.
They were, of course, very happy, and they really deserved it. In my opinion, they had also deserved a win in the first game, but there were certain circumstances that made it very difficult for us in the first game.
The team returned without overseas-based players, including skipper Michael Foster and Nigel Dabinyaba. Coach Flemin Sertslev praised his players for believing in themselves and sticking to their game plan for the win.
Since it was first time ever that Papua New Guinea beat Tahiti, and of course I'm proud of them because they have now for the last year actually made many historical wins and many historical results, and it's really good for the country.
Beating Tahiti will go down in PNG's football history books as the first ever win against the Francophone nation. One Seritslev believes is the first of many more wins to come.
Victory was absolutely necessary to continue in the World Cup qualifiers. Now we have reached this first goal. The next goal will be to beat Solomon in Solomon Islands in the first game there.
When asked about his feelings as a coach and achieving such a milestone with the national team, the humble Dane puts it simple.
It's not so important for me that it's the first win for me as a coach. The important thing is that every time that we take the shirt over our heads, we fight for the country. And it's actually one of the biggest aims for our players and for the whole squad, that we want to make Papua New Guineans proud.
However, the team will rest for a couple of weeks before getting back into training mode. The third leg of the OFC 2018 FIFA World Cup qualifiers returns in June with PNG facing Solomon Islands at home. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
To tennis, Papua New Guinea tennis star Abigail Tere Apisa broke into the top 400 in the world with a career-high single ranking of 386 following the release this week of the latest WTA singles rankings. This comes after reaching the quarterfinals in the International Tennis Federation tournaments in both Perth and Mildura in Australia over the last couple of weeks. This week, she is playing in Mornington, Victoria. Trukai Sports continues after the break with all the NRL action. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The Canterbury Bulldogs shocked the NRL community after beating the Brisbane Broncos 10 points to 7 last night. The Broncos led 7-0 at half-time after Jordan Kahu slotted in a field goal. The Bulldogs struck back in the second half after a strong effort from Josh Reynolds to keep them in the game. The last try came from fullback Brad Abbey, which played a crucial part in the Doggies' win. The Cowboys will face the South Sydney Rabbitohs in tonight's Round 5 clash. The Cowboys have lost just once so far in the season, and the Rabbitohs are still finding their rhythm after captain Greg Inglis suffered season-threatening injury in Round 1.
North Queensland Cowboys were limited to just one training session ahead of tonight's clash because of Tropical Cyclone Debbie. The return of Jason Tamololo this week will fire up the Cowboys. He's had 2 weeks off and will be ready to destroy the Rabbitohs. Gavin Cooper and Jonathan Thurston's combinations is always a try-scoring threat. Hooker Jake Granville will also have a significant role to play in directing the forwards around the field. There is no surprise the Rabbitohs haven't exactly found their groove yet. Robbie Farah is slowly familiarizing himself with the team and directing their big pack around the field. Adam Reynolds is starting to lose a little form, but the exciting pair of Braden Burns and Robert Jennings are very much capable of stealing a couple of tries. The match kicks off tonight at Smile Stadium at 7 p.m. and it will be shown live and free to air right here on EMTV. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
Still in the NRL, the 2016 Premiers Cronulla Sharks have already set their sights on a victory against the Newcastle Knights tomorrow. With just 2 wins under their belt and 2 losses that came with it in the last 4 rounds, the Sharks will have to make this round go their way. The Knights, on the other hand, are currently placed 15th on the points ladder, and a win tomorrow is just as important for them. The Sharks are aware the Knights are playing better footy than they did last season, and that is something they will not underestimate tomorrow. The match kicks off at 2 p.m. And that ends Trukai Sports. We'll have for you the weather details when we return.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Here's a look at the weather forecast over the next 24 hours. In the southern region, a few showers in Daru, evening showers in Port Moresby, a shower or two in Kerma, Altau and Popendetta. To the Mombasa region, showers in Ley and Wau, fine weather expected in Madang, Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, thundery showers in Lorengau, fine but cloudy later on for Kavieng, Kokopot and Rabaul, as well as in Kimbe, and showers in Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centres can expect some thundery showers over the next 24 hours.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And to end the news, a recap of our top stories. Cardinal Ribat calls on government to help Manus Islands affected by sea level rise. Treasurer Patrick Pruitt critical of the country's economic state, and dual citizenship launched. And that is the news, sports and weather for today, Friday, March the 31st, 2017. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Have a great weekend. Good night.